everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday night study. Tonight we're going to talk about church membership and leadership in the local church. We want to try to answer the question, what is membership of the local church? Is it called for in the New Testament? And then what is the leadership to look like in the local church? Now, the membership of the local church in the Bible is presented as a collection of individuals that are set apart to one another and are integrated together as a unit for one common purpose, to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, in the New Testament, we see the idea of members in a local church. For example, in 1 Corinthians 5, we see the censure of some members in the church and the instructions on handling conflict that we see in Matthew 18. They all assume a collection of believers together for a single purpose. And then the church members throughout the New Testament are told to hold their pastors, their elders, their bishops, and their overseers accountable for their teaching of proper doctrine. And apparently, there was a list of members in the early church, given the fact that the early church kept a list of widows, and God Himself keeps a list of His own in Revelation 20, verse 12. The idea of a church without membership is not consistent with the New Testament teaching. Therefore, we require membership here at the Redeemer's Place. Now, let's talk about some core responsibilities of the church member that are consistent with the responsibilities of all Christians in order to maintain a faithful witness for Jesus Christ. All members of the church are to be baptized, Matthew 28, 18 through 20, and to attend the Lord's Supper. We saw that in 1 Corinthians 11. We are to hear God's word and to obey it in 1 John chapter 2, verses 3 through 6. We are to have fellowship with one another for edification, Acts 2:42. We are to cultivate the fruit of the Spirit in our lives, in Galatians 5:22 through 23. We are to consistently gather together for corporate worship, Hebrews 10, verses 23 through 25. We are to financially support the work of the ministry. 1 Corinthians 16, 1 to 4, 2 Corinthians 8, verses 1 through 24, and 2 Corinthians 9, verses 12 through 15. We see it also in Philippians 4, verses 14 through 20, and 1 John 3, verse 17. We are to honor, to protect, to select, and submit to spiritual leadership. We see that in 1 Thessalonians 5, Hebrews 13, 1 Timothy 5, and Titus 3. And we are to hold them accountable to teach and to model truth. We are to hold each other accountable. 1 Thessalonians 5, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, and Matthew 18. And we are to rejoice and pray always. 1 Thessalonians 5 again. And we are to sacrificially love one another always, seeking peace and unity in the church. John 13:35 and Romans 12:18. And we are to be disciple makers for Jesus. Matthew 28, 18 through 20. And we are to admit and dismiss members of the local church. 1 Corinthians 5, verses 1 through 13. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. Now, in terms of leadership of the local church, the New Testament is very clear. The ultimate leader is Christ Himself. But underneath Him is a plurality of pastors, elders, overseers, and bishops in the local church. Again, the model is a plurality of elders for the local church. We see that in James 5:14, 1 Peter 5, verses 1 through 5, Philippians 1:1, Acts 20, verse 28, 1 Timothy 4, verse 14, and Titus 1:5. And they are to fulfill the qualifications of 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. And they are to follow the example of Jesus Christ, 1 Corinthians 11, verse 1. And they are to exercise their role well as they edify the church. The other role that we see in the local church are deacons and deaconesses. Their role is purely service in the local church as they assist the pastor or the elder with ministering to the body. And again, they must fulfill the qualifications found in 1 Timothy 3. The concept that we follow here at the Redeemer's Place is elder-led, not elder rule. Elders lead in light of the parameters placed on the local church for the congregation and the elders. Now, here are some questions for you to think about tonight. I know this has been very short, but this is a critical study, so think about these three things. Why do you think church membership is so important? What are some benefits for you and the church of church membership? What are some challenges around that? And what are the risks of not having membership? It's important discussion to think about. And then number 2, think back over the responsibility of church members. How are you doing against that listing? And what are you going to do to improve those areas that need improving? Or how are you going to keep your strengths going? And then number 3, think about church leadership. Go back and read 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. What do you notice about those qualifications? What do you think Hebrews 13 verse 17 is so critical for a church member, assuming their pastor is fulfilling his role properly? So think about those 3 questions as you think about this study tonight. And I hope you've enjoyed this. We're going to have one more study in the church, and it'll be done next week. We're going to talk about what is the role of making disciples in the church. So I hope to see you then, and I hope to see you at our worship on Saturday night as we worship at 6:30 p.m. at Victory Life Church. It's located at 155 Northwest 112th Avenue in Plantation, Florida. We would love to see you, but I hope you have a great week as well. So we'll see you soon. Thanks. That's it.